It's the Wine Country Saturday Soundtrack Podcast. You know, on Saturdays, we play fun music and we feature great information at 993thevine.com with me, Big Rick Stewart, and music from my time at Live 105 and at KFOG. We also mix in some stories that I find kind of interesting, whether it's local music or food or tech or just kind of some cool things I think you ought to know about. It's always lots of fun. Fun music and great information happens every Saturday at 993thevine.com. And the Wine Country Saturday Soundtrack Podcast features great information like this. I'm Big Rick Stewart. It's the Wine Country Saturday Soundtrack. Hey, thanks for hanging out with me. As always, every Saturday, fun music and great information. This is one of those things that I'm kind of thinking, oh, that'd be cool. It turned out to not actually work, but that's all right. Because, you know, you got to first learn how to not invent the light bulb before you do, I guess. Headline, Iowa demolishes its first 3D printed house. This is from Hackaday.com a few weeks ago. So the whole plan in Iowa, of all places, right, was to 3D print houses. And they were going to do a whole bunch of them. And they had this whole idea and this whole concept, and they had worked this all out. But it turns out that it actually didn't work out. The printing of the first house started in May of 2023, so a few months ago. 9 more were going to be completed this year, but they just tore it all down. And you know why? Because it turned out printing a house with Hempcrete didn't work out. Yeah, you heard me right. Hempcrete, not concrete. Hempcrete. So they were trying to make sure that this had enough strength to hold up, and they did some testing on Hempcrete. And it was reaching 6,000 to 8,000 PSI. But when they built the house, it didn't meet the 5,000 PSI requirement for the project. They don't have earthquakes in Iowa, but you know, a few tornadoes and things now and then. They have some weather. So now you're wondering, what? Hempcrete? Well, they're developing all this in Iowa at the Greater Muscatine Community College and the Community Federation of Greater Muscatine. It turns out that Hempcrete was chosen in part because Muscatine Community College has Iowa's only hemp program. But it didn't work out. Not this time. But I bet Hempcrete will be a thing in the future. You maybe heard it here first on the Wine Country Saturday Soundtrack at 99.3 The Vine. It's the Wine Country Saturday Soundtrack. I'm Big Rick Stewart. Hey, thanks for hanging out with me today on this Saturday in December. The year is coming to a close, and coming to a close would best describe the first part of the band Kiss, who, you know, like, been around forever, right? Kiss have been around forever. It seems like Kiss are not done yet. I mean, maybe in real life, they say that this is their last tour, their last live show and the whole thing. And working with the people behind Star Wars and so many other famous movies, Marin County's own Industrial Light and Magic, you know, the George Lucas company, there will be Kiss avatars performing on a screen, I guess, somewhere near us. We'll have to see how this whole thing kind of develops. Paul Stanley at their show at Madison Square Garden, you know, the New York band, he came on stage and said, "This is the end of the road. It seems sad, but tonight's a night for joy. Tonight's a night to celebrate what we did together." And then he said, you know, a new era begins. And then when the show was over, boom, they debuted this whole thing. Industrial Light and Magic was behind coming up with the whole thing. And the people who were behind an ABBA Avatar tour live performance are going to handle the performing part of Kiss avatars performing. I don't know, it just kind of seems wild. Kiss are kind of famous for merchandising and having lots of things, including, I think of it at one point, there was a Kiss coffin that you could be buried in, or just maybe display at your house. Kiss avatars, what do you think of that? Pretty wild, huh? We'll have to see. I guess, you know, they could have 4 or 5 Kiss groups touring at the same time. I don't know. I mean, I'm willing to check it out as long as the tickets aren't too expensive. Hey, I'm Big Rick Stewart. Rock and roll all night and party every day with 99.3 The Vine. It's the Wine Country Saturday soundtrack. I'm Big Rick Stewart. Hey, I know everybody loves music. I mean, that's kind of why we're all gathered here to listen to some music. Probably a huge portion of us, me included, would consider ourselves fans of the band Queen. All right, Freddie Mercury, the movie, the whole thing was great. And what a great band. One of the greatest concert films ever was Queen Rock Montreal. And people say it was kind of like Queen at their height, at the best. It was a great performance. Queen Rock Montreal was a 1981 concert film, previously released in 2007. Get this, it's going to have a re-release early next year. It's going to be on IMAX, the big screens, the big sound, the big everything. Showcasing the group in their pre-Hot Space album era before keyboards would find a place in the band's touring lineup. This classic concert film shows these talented musicians in total cohesion while finding space to demonstrate their individual strengths, says a press release announcing this IMAX partnership. It's going to be a big deal. And of course, you know, they've restored it and they've added all kinds of good things. And the band themselves say it's pretty awesome. There's great songs like Somebody to Love. Another one, Bites the Dust. We Will Rock You. We Are the Champions. Killer Queen. All these great things. Even a new song at the time called Under Pressure. So we'll have to see this. I mean, we will have to see this on IMAX. Should be great. Queen at their best. Queen Rock Montreal coming to IMAX early next year. I'm Big Rick Stewart. It's a Wine Country Saturday soundtrack at 99.3 The Vine. Hey, I'm Big Rick Stewart, host of the Wine Country Saturday soundtrack. As always, fun music and great information. Oh man, after all these years, the Tesla Cybertruck has been released a little bit, just a few sprinkled around. You might see some in Napa Valley, I would think. I mean, I'm sure there's a few in the Bay Area. Among the many kind of famous people, Spike Lee, the movie director, he showed off his Tesla Cybertruck on social media. And when they released it, there were a couple things going on. One of them was they showed a Tesla Cybertruck drag racing a Porsche 911. And the Tesla Cybertruck was towing a Porsche 911. Well, Tesla showed this, and of course, you can imagine that, of course, the Tesla won. But some eagle-eyed people on Reddit identified the racetrack where they did the drag race as the now closed Sacramento Raceway. And they noticed from the markings that it was an eighth of a mile, not the full quarter mile. So when you maybe saw, wow, Tesla dragged a Porsche in a quarter mile drag race. No, it was an eighth of a mile. Who knows what would have happened in the full quarter mile? Although I'm sure the Porsche Club of America can't wait to get their hands on a Cybertruck to try this out. And we don't know what the engine was in the Porsche. For that matter, we don't know what the engine was in the Tesla. There's a few different engines and trim levels. They will be ramping up production if they need to. They can make quite a few of these every month. So, you know, get your name on the list if you really want one. And if you really, really want a Tesla Cybertruck, you don't have to pay $80,000, $90,000. You can get a Tesla Cybertruck for $1,500. It's for kids. It's like a little Barbie Jeep, and they buzz around and they drive it in the driveway or wherever. And last time I checked, it was sold out. I can't wait to see one. Hey, give me a ride if you get one, will you? I'm Big Rick Stewart. It's the Wine Country Saturday soundtrack at 99.3 The Vine. Well, those are some stories that I have featured on the Wine Country Saturday soundtrack. Tune in at 8 a.m. every Saturday at 993thevine.com. I'm Big Rick Stewart here. Music from my days at Live 105 and Cape Fog, some current songs, lots of surprises, and more. It's always lots of fun. We have a 10 at 10, a Beatles brunch at noon. It happens all day. The Wine Country Saturday soundtrack and the Wine Country Saturday soundtrack podcast. Tell your friends, and thanks for listening to this podcast, and thanks for checking out 993thevine.com.